All right, colleagues and audience, welcome to this evening's Halifax West Community Council. As always, we acknowledge that Halifax Regional Municipality is located on Mi'kmaq, the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and the municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed on this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. Before we get to business, I call on the clerk to do the process for election of chair and vice chair.
Thank you very much, Chair Smith. So I will begin our proceedings this evening by calling for nominations for the position of chair of Halifax and West Community Council.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Smith for chair of the committee.
And I'll call 3 more times for nominations. Any nominations for a position of chair of Halifax and West Community Council? Oh, sorry, excuse me. I need to have a vote actually on the nomination of Councillor Smith as for chair. And I'll ask Councillor Smith, do you accept the nomination before we proceed with the vote?
I accept the nomination.
Thank you. And can I have a vote on the motion putting Councillor Smith forward as a nominee? Yes. Yeah. Any names? No? So that motion puts and passed. And I now have to call 3 additional times for any further nominees for the position of chair. Any further nominees, second time? And a third time, any nominees for the position of chair? No? All right, so I will declare that Councillor Smith be nominated. Oh, sorry. And can I have a motion for the closing of nominations, please? Okay. So, and a vote on that, please. Aye. No nays. All right. So Councillor Smith has been acclaimed as chair of Halifax and West Community Council. So I'll now put the floor back to you, Chair, so you can do the vote for vice chair.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, colleagues. So I look for nominations for vice chair. Councillor Morse.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Cuttle for vice chair.
Second.
All right, moved by Councillor Morse, seconded by Councillor Cleary to nominate Councillor Cuttle as vice chair. Any further nominations? Any further nominations? Any further nominations? Seeing none, I will call for the question to elect Councillor Cuttle as, sorry, before I do that, do you accept? I accept. Okay, Councillor Cuttle accepts. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, Councillor Cuttle, thank you. Welcome back. All right, clerk, are we good?
You need to call 3 more times for nomination.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yep, I did that and I voted.
And did you do the vote for closing the nomination?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
No, no worries. We're quick over here. We're efficient.
Exactly, and you thanked Councillor Cuttle as vice chair, so we are good to go to our next item on the agenda.
All right, thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is 1.2, tabling of the 22 annual report, and we have public participation for the annual report. And we invite any of the public who, regarding Community Council's annual report, speakers can participate for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please keep your comments respectful, on topic, and directed to the chair. The clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining and when your time is complete for all speakers. Currently, there are no names on the list, so is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak on the annual report? Seeing none, I'll call 2 more times. Anyone like to speak on the annual report? Councillor Cleary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, you know, in the report, we talk about how many public hearings we had, how many reports came forward. It might be worthwhile, although I wasn't here for the last council meeting when Minister Lohr came to speak, but in light of that, might I make a suggestion to our staff that maybe we also include in there the number of units that have been approved over the year, so that we can demonstrate to those who might be interested, i.e. provincial government, just exactly not only the number of meetings we have and that sort of thing, but how many things get approved at Community Council. So I just put that out for our staff. I'm not making a motion. Might be a good piece of information to include in there.
Thank you, Councillor. Before I ask to put the motion on the floor just one more time, anyone in the audience? Third time, so we don't need to close the hearing, or well, this isn't a hearing. So, Councillor Cleary, you already spoke, and I think you made a very good point. So, would you like to put the motion on the floor since you just spoke on that? Please. Yep, your mic should be on.
There you go, thank you. I move the Halifax and West Community Council table the 2022 annual report as presented.
Seconded by Councillor Mason. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that is tabled. Thank you, colleagues. Moving on to approval of the minutes, October 12, 2022. Mover and a seconder for the minutes. Moved by Councillor Cleary, seconded by Councillor Cuttle. Any omissions or corrections, deletions? No, seeing none. All those in favor of the minutes say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right. Approval of order of business and approval of additions and deletions. Clerk.
Yes, Chair Smith, we have one deletion for this evening's agenda, and that would be item 10.1.2, which is case 24020.
All right, thank you. Anything else from colleagues? No? All right, so a mover for the agenda as presented and amended, moved by Councillor Cleary, seconded by Councillor Cuttle. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, we have an agenda. Business arising out of the minutes. There are none. Calls for declarations of conflict of interest. Do we have any? Seeing none. Motions of reconsideration, we have none. Motions of rescission, we have none. Consideration of deferred business, there are none. Notice of table matters, none. Moving on to the meat, which is our hearing. So 10.1.1, case 22483, Planning District 5, Chebucto Peninsula Land Use Bylaw Amendment to rezone 801 Old Sambro Road, Harrietsfield. So again, thank you for joining us for the public hearing. The process will start with a staff presentation and questions of clarification from staff. The applicant will be given an opportunity to present. After that, we will go to the public hearing. Speakers can participate for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please keep your comments respectful, on topic, directed to the chair. The clerks will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining and when your time is complete for all speakers. After everyone on the list has been given opportunity to speak, I will call 3 times to see if there's any additional speakers. Do we have any additional correspondence for this item, clerk?
Chair Smith, there was no correspondence for this matter.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so let's do the staff presentation, and I believe Claire, hello Claire. Claire is here to present on behalf of staff. And the floor is yours.
Good evening, Halifax and West Community Council. My name is Claire Toos. I'm a planner on the Rural Planning and Policy and Planning Applications team at HRM. And tonight I am presenting a rezoning application, case 22483 for 801 Old Sambro Road in Harrietsfield. So the applicant for this proposal is Stephen Adams Consulting Services Incorporated on behalf of Civtech Engineering and Servicing Limited. The location is 801 Old Sambro Road in Harrietsfield, and the specific business is JC Auto Works. So this proposal is to rezone a portion of the subject property from the Harrietsfield Village Center V1 zone to the Industrial Commercial Mix C5 zone. So the general site location is identified in red on the left. It's about halfway between Spryfield and Harrietsfield on Old Sambro Road. On the right, you can see a closer look at the property and some of the development that occurs around it. This is a zoning map pulled from the Schedule A of the Land Use Bylaw. So this helps to show what is already zoned C5 and what is zoned V1. So at the top to the north is the C5. In yellow, you can see some of the properties are zoned R2, and then to the south we have V1. So the top right inset, you can see a part of the property was initially zoned C5, the rest was V1, and then the subject property also includes a second property which was formerly 811 Old Sambro Road, which was recently consolidated, and I'll get into that a bit later, but that is also being requested to be rezoned to C5. Here are some site context photos. So you can see the business in the photo on the left, and the parking lot in the photo on the right. There are two accesses, so I'm standing in the driveway of each of them. Here you can see on the left, this is the existing building, and about where that white car is where we're going to put where the proposed addition is, about 60 feet out from that side wall. The photo on the right shows the nearest residence to the property. These photos depict the watercourse that aligns down on the southern part of the property. Note that the watercourse buffer for this watercourse will still apply regardless of the rezoning. That's part of the land use bylaw regulations, and it won't be changed via this application. So our planning policies, we have three scopes, levels of scope. There's our regional plan, which guides where population growth and the investment of our services like transit, piped water, and sewer should occur. Then we have our community plans, of which there are about 21. These outline how different types of development may occur. Particular uses may not be permitted in some areas, while others may only be permitted by going to council for approval and getting feedback from the community. And then we have our land use bylaw, which specifies what can be approved without going to council and seeking feedback from the public. So this property has on-site services. It's designated IC industrial commercial over the C5 zoned portion of the lot, and it's designated village center VC under the V1 over the V1 portion of the lot. The existing use is an auto body shop use, and the enabling policy for this application is IC2. So for this application, we received a complete application, and staff completed a detailed review. Then the application underwent public engagement. Staff drafted a report for Halifax and West Community Council. Last month, council gave first reading. We are now at the public hearing this evening, and depending on council's decision, there is a 14-day appeal period, after which, if the application is approved and there are no appeals, then the applicant may apply for all necessary permits. So this is the site plan. It's the subdivision plan that was submitted as part of the subdivision application. I have a closer look here to sort of point out some of the important features. So outlined in red is the subject property. The proposed addition is the dashed orange line. And then the dashed black line down the center shows the recent consolidation between 801 and 811 Old Sambro Road. You can see the brook is the darker of the blue lines. It's the solid one at the bottom. And then the watercourse buffer is the dashed light blue line that will continue to apply. So this rezoning, although we have the intention of doing it so that this business can expand, the rezoning would allow any use permitted under the C5 zone. So I've just put up the uses on the screen. So for example, in 5 years, if the business did want to change, they could have any of these uses, provided that they meet all of the zone requirements. The policy that this application is considered under is policy IC2. So this enables the establishment of the C5 zone, and it requires that council consider the following in rendering their decision on a rezoning application. So it requires that we consider in the zone the adequacy of development controls such as height, separation distances, setbacks, as well as compatibility with the surrounding development in the neighborhood. The other thing is access. This property already has 2 accesses. So the level of engagement completed for this application was consultation, achieved through a mail-out notification. We sent out 30 notifications, and we only received 1 phone call from June of 2021. This individual was concerned that if development occurred within the watercourse buffer, this may cause flooding to adjacent properties. Ultimately, they were opposed to the rezoning if it meant building near the brook. So that would not occur. That's not part of the application. But in response to that feedback, there was a change to the subject properties. So the original proposal was to consolidate 811 Old Sambro Road and 821 Old Sambro Road and rezone all 3 properties to C5. Since the water course runs right through 821 Old Sambro Road, staff advised we leave that property out of the proposal and just rezone 801 and 811 Old Sambro Road, as well as consolidate them so that they have a bit more breathing room for their addition. So this consolidation took place in May and June of 2022. To summarize some of the key aspects of the proposal, it's rezoning a portion of 801 Old Sambro Road from V1 to C5. There is a roughly 60 by 60 foot addition proposed to the main building, JC Auto Works, and if need be, they could also do a future accessory building to support their land use. So the land use will be regulated as of right through the Planning District 5 Land Use Bylaw C5 zone. It has certain development controls such as a list of permitted uses, setback requirements, separation distances, maximum height, and regulation to open storage and parking. So the staff recommendation is that Halifax and West Community Council approve the proposed land use bylaw amendment as set out in attachment A of the staff report dated September 20th, 2022. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you very much, Claire. Any questions of clarification from members? Councillor Cuttle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Claire, for the presentation. Can you just go over the piece around the 3 lots and how the zoning's only applying to the 2 lots and not the lot with the water buffer, just on the map? Like, if you could, I don't know if you could pull that map up again.
This one?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's great. So it's just the 801 and the 811 in the red, and then 821's not getting consolidated. So it's just going to remain V1.
That's correct. Through the chair to the councillor, I mostly provided that as background information, but it doesn't really impact the application.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Seeing no one else with questions of clarification, we'll move on to the applicant. And Mr. Steve Adams, I think you know how this process works. For those who don't know, a former colleague of ours, former councillor, former chair of Halifax West Community Council as well. Lots of formers. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry?
Your best days are in front of you.
I'm hoping. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Mr. New Chair, I guess, and members of Community Council. My name's Stephen Adams, and I represent Mr. David Dodge. He's the owner of JC Auto Works, the subject property. And tonight, Mr. Dodge has his wife, Shauna, and 3 young boys, Carson, Jake, and Cohen. Their first time here. This will be very brief. Councillor Mason, there'll be no PowerPoint presentation. The property under discussion is in a split zone, as Ms. Toos had suggested. They're V1 and C5. By allowing the rezoning to C5, it would permit the expansion of his business and the construction of a 60 by 60 foot building. The uses proposed for the new building would be the same as what he is presently doing, that being auto detailing, auto body repair, and warehousing. As of now, some of the work being done on this site is outside. It's not environmentally problematic, but it's outside, out in the elements. Mr. Dodge has 6 employees who are working there. With the rezoning and expansion, he's likely to add another employee, and he would really like to advertise that this would be indoor work. Given the rezoning in the building, it would be so. And also bring the required parking into compliance. And as Ms. Toos had said, the rezoning is consistent with the intent of the MPS. So with that, I'd ask that Community Council support the staff recommendation, which would allow Mr. Dodge to build the building and bring all his property into compliance.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anyone question clarifications from members of Community Council? Seeing none, thank you. We'll go to the public hearing. And I'll ask anybody from the public, just making sure, do we have anyone signed up on the speakers list? Okay. So while Andrea checks if we have anyone on the speakers list, I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience who'd like to come forward and speak on this item. No? Okay, no one's on the list, so I'll call two more times. Anyone who'd like to speak on this item? Anyone who'd like to speak on this item? Mr. Dodge, any of the boys like to speak on this item? Moment to shine? No? All right. I ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Moved by Councilor Cleary, seconded by Councilor Cuttle to close the public hearing. What is your wish, committee? Councilor Cuttle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that Halifax and West Community Council adopt the amendment to Schedule A, zoning of the land use bylaw for Planning District 5, Chebucto Peninsula, as set out in Attachment A of the staff report dated July 27th, 2022. Thank you, Councillor Cleary. Yeah, so I think we all understand what's being proposed here with the consolidation of the lots. And the rezoning to allow for this auto body business to expand, which I think is great to see, businesses growing in Harrietsfield. And, the main concern around the water course, I think has been dealt with. Not only is the piece of land that largely has the water course on it not part of this rezoning application, the small portion of the water course that does cross the lot that is being rezoned has a water buffer course to it that's still in place, so I think that issue is addressed. And I ask my council colleagues to please support this rezoning application and let this small business grow.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else with comments? All right, question's been called. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that passes. Thank you, colleagues. Moving on to our next item, 10.1.2, case 24020, which has been deleted from the agenda. Moving on to correspondence, 11.1. Clerk, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, Chair Smith, we had correspondence for item 11.3.1.
All right, thank you. Any petitions from members? Petitions from clerk?
The clerk's office has no petitions this evening.
All right, thank you. Okay, going to presentations. 11.3.1, presentation Halifax Homecoming Dalhousie District Bylaw Modernization and Discussion. And we have Christian Curran here to present, who will be accompanied by their 12-year-old daughter. Welcome. Okay, so just making sure I'm not forgetting anything here. Okay, yeah, so welcome to Community Council. I believe you have a presentation to share?
I do, yes.
Okay, yep, so you have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sorry. I knew I was going to say something wrong. 10 minutes, and the floor is yours.
Good evening, Chair, Councillors, Clerk, and others in the chamber. My name is Christian Curran, and this is my daughter, Chamonix Curran, and we live on Preston Street in Halifax South. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the work of our council. We appreciate your commitment to public service and the complex issues put in front of you and the matters you deal with. Tonight, we're here in front of you to express concern as residents over Halifax Homecoming, an event that occurs in our neighborhood. So I'm speaking on behalf of 14 households that got back in touch with me that said I could convey my message on behalf of them. We are an informal group, so we did not go out and canvass people. I suspect there's more who share the views we have, but certainly 14 of my other fellow households share these views as well. So since 2017, an unsanctioned Homecoming Street Party has been permitted to occur year over year in the Preston, Jennings, Large Street area. Due to inaction, the annual party has increased in size and severity, resulting most recently in stabbings, injured officers, street fires, property damage, illegal and underage drinking, and an inability for emergency responders to service our area. This is not acceptable to our community. This slide here just shows the various headlines that have received regional and national media attention over the years. The most notable party began in I guess the most notable party was the recent one, but these parties date back to 2017. We were spared as a community during COVID. I believe 2019 or 2020 there was not a large party because of COVID restrictions. The annual event, as I said, dates back to 2017. It has received regional and national media attention due to its unruliness. The state of our neighborhood during the parties is one of great fear for our children, families, and elderly. It is a source of community anxiety year over year as we begin to hear about its plannings through the social media. I did provide a video. I hope that council, Mr. Chair, was able to review the video. It gives you a sense of what we deal with on those evenings and those days. So the cause to community residents of these parties is unclear. It's perhaps due to HRM silence, which has led to some form of indirect endorsement. And ineffective bylaws. When we talk to police officers, they claim that they don't have the tools they need to manage these parties. There seems to be a lack of ownership or a lot of finger pointing, as we can see most recently in terms of the police pointing to Dalhousie pointing to council. You know, as a community resident, this isn't ideal and doesn't lead to a solution. And perhaps lack of HR or Halifax police preparedness and resourcing. So regardless of the cause, that's not what we're here to do, is highlight the cause. We're really looking for a solution. And we feel that the municipality is well placed to engage, consult, as well as drive a solution through bylaw, some form of bylaw modernization. So the impact on our community has been unsafe and uncontrolled environment for local residents. This event has an impact on our healthcare system. Each year, it affects our emergency response services, policing, and leads to a lot of cleanup, to name a few of the fallout associated with this annual event. All of which, you know, beyond our community, comes at a significant cost to the municipal budget. So I just want to make that point as well, that this does affect all members of the municipality in some way through the taxes they pay. It's quite a costly event. So just pointing to what other jurisdictions have done across Canada. They have observed some municipal leadership on this issue where these issues do occur around other similar universities. These are examples that are available on the internet. There are various nuisance bylaws that the City of Kingston has put in place. The City of Hamilton seems to be very progressive in terms of identifying a university district and having specific bylaws that speak to the community around the McMaster University District. They have a nuisance bylaw. Wolfville is another one that has made some progress on this, as is Waterloo. So, you know, this isn't something that's unique to our neighborhood, but it does affect our neighborhood. But what we see in other municipalities is council has come up with some solutions that have empowered their police forces to take some action. So what we're calling on as a community is, you know, on behalf of the group of residents that I'm here to represent, the 14 households on Jennings, Large, Preston, and others on Jubilee, we request that council take some action on this matter. We request that primary stakeholders, the municipality, so HRM, Halifax Police, and Dalhousie University, stop the finger pointing and start coming up with some solutions. Start the dialogue, not the finger pointing. Develop a means whereby accountable stakeholders can coordinate our actions. So we have been, as a community, talking to various players, but it's always been in its parts, not in its whole. Not everyone has been around the table at the same time. We request that council pursue strengthened bylaws that increase fines, allow for cost recovery, a stronger nuisance bylaw that can serve our municipality. So this bylaw would serve all neighborhoods in our municipality. Last, we request that council plan for early intervention enforcement should any future party of this nature be planned in our neighborhood or anywhere else, any other neighborhood in the community or the municipality. So in closing, the Jennings Street, Large Street, and Preston Street area is a dynamic and diverse community. We acknowledge that students in Dalhousie are a big positive part of our community, but we don't feel that a large, dangerous, and unsanctioned event is appropriate to occur year over year, and certainly something that is dated back to 2017. Our community is calling on council to take action through a modernized nuisance bylaw or similar bylaw adopted elsewhere. A bylaw that has increased fines and greater legal authority to prevent, manage, and cost recover from those who illegally organize, participate in unsanctioned street parties. Last, I'd like to have my daughter just say a few words, just to convey her views of this event and how she is impacted. I think it reflects, some of the others that live in our community. Certainly when you look at that video, you don't see families in that video, you don't see elderly in that video, and you don't see children in that video, but they are a big part of that community, and they do deal with that event year over year and certainly have since 2017. So, Mr. Chair, if I can give my daughter a moment, she just has prepared a few words for you.
Hi there, I'm Shemini Curran, and I'd like to tell you about my experience of the Halifax homecoming. It all starts at around 10 a.m. when you hear the first of the music, the crowds start to come, and the neighborhood gets louder. At 11 to 12, the music gets louder, the amount of police is bigger. When 1 p.m. hits, the music is blasting, the students are drunk, and everything is very hectic. Even when the music is blasting and the crowd is over the streets, the police do nothing. They say they can't stop the music until a formal complaint is made. Even after there were more than 10 made, they still didn't turn down the music or ask them to do anything. When the party spilled over onto the streets, the police said that they were going to stop the party, but that didn't happen either. No, they didn't stop the party at all. The party even got bigger. After listening to the party for the last 6 hours, they tried to shut it down, but later on at 9 p.m., everyone came back. The homecoming doesn't actually stop until 3 to 4 a.m. the next day. When the party starts to ramp up and gets crazy, I don't feel safe in my neighborhood, I get stressed, and worst of all, it doesn't represent Halifax very well. Do you want Halifax to be known as the city where there are stabbings, street fires, students jumping out of trees, and other dumb acts and events happening on neighborly streets? I remember last year, one of my neighbors were yelling, "I'm 6 months pregnant, and I have to yell at students to not go to the washroom on my lawn." I completely think that students deserve to have a homecoming, but I don't think that they should have it in a neighborhood where there are old people, young families, and kids. I think that the Commons would be a great place to have the homecoming because it's not in a neighborhood where there are young families or kids nearby. For the party at the Commons, they would have police, but they would also be in a safe and fun environment. In the past, but especially this year, they were told by the police that there would be a zero tolerance, but they never followed through with that plan. If they would have followed through with this plan in previous years, this party would have never been a problem. I can't imagine that this council hasn't received a lot of complaints recently about this year's homecoming. When this year, when students had DJs in their backyard, I can't believe the police let that slide. Whenever you give the students that kind of privilege to have something like DJs in their backyard, it's like giving them a free pass to do whatever they want. If HRM really cared about not having this homecoming, it wouldn't have ever happened after the first year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Is that it for you?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both for being here this evening and taking the time to speak with us. I'll look to my members to see if there's anyone who might have questions of clarification or comment. Councillor Mason.
I'll just say, because it's your first time being here, that we don't actually, we're not allowed to engage or pontificate or whatever. We're only allowed questions of clarification, and you summed it up very well, and I have no questions, and I will be happy to talk to you afterwards. But I didn't want you to leave without acknowledging you, and thank you for coming.
Any other members with questions of clarification? Seeing no one on the list and no one putting their hand up. Again, thank you for being here this evening. Oh, sorry, the very last second, Councillor Cuddle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I was looking up some of the other bylaws in other cities that you mentioned, and I see that there's other bylaws. I'm just wondering if you have any sense of their effectiveness in your research. Did you, how well are these working to contain?
A lot of them are new, so what I understand of McMaster, which is where I did my undergrad, so I probably was a troublemaker back in my day, and if this has come back to haunt me in my adult life. I think this is the first year that new bylaw has been in place. My understanding, and I didn't do a lot of homework in terms of reaching out to the City of Hamilton or the university. That's something that I would like to do as a next step, but before I get some clarity and direction in terms of where the council sits on this, it really is going to guide where we go from here. We are actively involved in discussion with the university as well as the police on this matter as a community. So to answer your question, I really don't know, but I didn't see much in terms of any party portrayed on CBC National News in McMaster specifically as it has in the past. I don't recall seeing any parties this year out of Western Ontario, which is typical. These are the ones that typically follow the homecoming in our neighborhood. It's usually McMaster, and then Western is on the news the week after that. So similarly, I haven't heard much from Acadia or St. FX that have had problems in the past. So, but certainly these other jurisdictions that have bylaws, I don't know how effective they are or not. I think effectiveness really is about, the will to enforce. What I do like about those bylaws is they give council and the police more authority to issue fines on the order of thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, and cost recover. I believe our fines in municipality on the order of a couple $100. So they're not really much of a deterrent to the organizers of these parties.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else is on the list, so again, thank you for being, guys are all coming last minute. All right. Councilor Morse.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering if you've had any experiences with Dalhousie that you can share with council. I have Mount St. Vincent in my district. I don't have any complaints about Mount St. Vincent. I don't hear too many complaints about SMU. I'm just wondering if your neighborhood has had any discussions with Dalhousie.
We have, so we've been meeting up with the vice provost is the highest we've gotten. Mind you, we've had meetings with the president, who I understand now has moved on or will be moving on to McGill. So perhaps a new face that we'll be dealing with in the future. I struggle with that one. I think the most recent homecoming, we've coined it as Halifax homecoming purposefully in our presentation because, I would say that the vast majority of participants are from Dal, but they're not the only participants. I think this has become a known party throughout the city, or throughout the province. I know firsthand of neighbors whose children have come back from St. FX where they go to school with 20 of their friends and they throw on a Dal t-shirt and go enjoy the party. So, I think perhaps in 2017 this really was University Party, and the university probably is I wouldn't say responsible. I would say that the majority of students are from there, but I think this party has outgrown just Dalhousie, which is why we're calling on the municipality for some action. As you know, Dal has limited authority over its students off campus. That becomes a municipal issue and a policing issue. I think they have some means of deterring party goers. I know they have put in some actions for their sports teams where they have, penalties if you are known to proceed in these parties. But I do think that this is a bigger discussion now. I think it's one that is required across, Dal, Halifax Police, the community, as well as the municipality.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Before you go, I'm just looking one more time. Anybody else going to buzz in last minute? All right, not seeing any. Thank you very much for being here this evening. All right, so I will ask if there's anyone else from the audience for public participation? Is that how this works, right?
That's at the end of the meeting.
Okay. Oh, that's this presentation, yes, sorry. See, I'm new here. All right, so information brought forward, we have none. Reports, 13.1, 30.11, proposed 2023 meeting schedule. So there's no presentation, so if there's any comments or questions, Councillor Cleary.
I'm happy to put it on the floor that Halifax West Community Council approve the proposed 2023 Halifax West Community Council meeting schedule as outlined in the staff memorandum.
Seconded by Councillor Mason. Any comments?
Well, so there was like 8 dates that don't work, so no, I'm kidding. It's fine by me.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Cottle?
I can't actually remember, did we do Mondays last year too, when we were having all this budget? We did. There's more on this one, right? Yeah, because I didn't remember so many being deferred, but that's all because of budget.
Yeah, and we did some changing of the budget schedule to council budget schedule I forget why we did it, but we changed it to accommodate some dates and times for folks.
Tim Mohit, yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
All right, questions been called on the meeting schedule. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, we got schedule. Members of Community Council, we have none. Motions, we have none. In-camera items, we have none. Added items, there are none. Notices of motion. Any notices of motion? Seeing no public participation. So as before, if anyone in the audience would like to participate in the meeting, you have 5 minutes. Please keep your comments respectful, on topic, and directed to the chair. And the clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining and your time is complete. We have no one signed up, but is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to Community Council? Anyone who'd like to speak to Community Council? Anyone who'd like to speak to Community Council? All right, seeing none, the next meeting is December 6th, 2022, and a motion to adjourn. All right, moved by Councilor Mason. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, colleagues. See you in December.